I was trying to log into my computer because
I was like, oh Lord, here we go.
I put my notes on the computer, and I was like, "What's happening? Why is my computer not on? Like this is it's starting off interesting, very interesting."
Okay, y'all. Welcome to BookTini's first impression for July. This is our series where we talk about the first 50 pages of our book of the month. And this month, our theme for the month is humor. So we are reading Confessions of a 40-something F Up by Alexandra Potter. And EJ, our lovely National Literary Chair, is going to lead our discussion today. She championed this book or nominated it for us to read, and so she's going to lead our discussion.
Yep. So one of the things so for anyone who doesn't know about how the book board process currently works, essentially each of the book board members will nominate books, and anyone can send a request to the book board if you'd like for us to consider your book, and we put it in if it fits the theme. So when I look for books, especially for humor, I look for things that make me giggle. Like I want the title to make me giggle. I want the thought about the book to make me giggle. And we read a lot of coming of age stories that are around turning 30. And I'm just like, okay, but 30 ain't the same 30 it was when you were supposed to have your whole life figured out by 30. And so I love this new kind of spin on Confessions of a 40-year-old F up, right? And also I love cursing. So I just thought, just put it right there in the title. So my question is to
Right.
you guys, when you first saw the title and read the synopsis of the book, what intrigued you to want to vote for it to be our pick for the book club?
I'm trying to think. I did vote for this. Um, I think we had another book that
Yeah,
was like neck and neck.
right.
Mm-hmm.
And this one, I can't remember. I feel like I changed my vote for this
So
one
yeah,
or
we
something like
actually had picked a whole nother book,
We
and then
did.
we came back around. We were like, no, we got to do this one. Yeah. I
Oh,
just
I think somebody read the first page and we were like,
Mm,
this is the one. This
right.
is it.
right.
Was that it?
Yes, that's what happened. Yeah.
I
I
think
actually,
so.
yeah, but I just remember thinking, why it's a different spin. I haven't seen this book before, and I'm
Mhm.
sure it's coming now because the experience is different, right? We have a different lived experience, but I would think this is going to be a really funny read, or it could get to be funny, especially
Yeah.
like the synopsis was wild. I was like, what did she end up doing? Huh?
And
So,
it's
Well,
hilarious.
yeah.
I was just gonna say, like, the title in itself, like my brother was like, okay, what book you guys reading? And then I told him, and he was like silent. He was like, man, am I a 40-year-old fuck up? Like, it's like makes you question your life. Like,
Yeah, I was like, who wrote this? Is
right.
it
mhm,
my
Right.
biography? What's going on? Uh,
right. So that actually is my next question. Do you guys identify with the main character, and if so, in what ways? Oh Lord, not the big eyes.
Um, so many ways. Like I was living with my mom when I was 40. Like I had moved back home a while back, and so I was actually living with my mom when I was 40. So I can relate when she was like, "I can't do it," and I was like, "But I did." But anyway, I can totally relate to just like transitioning, like at that age, like we're like hitting that point where you realize, okay, I am middle aged and I'm in like a transitional, like what the heck is going on with my life kind of feeling.
Yeah.
yeah, I identify with her a lot, being a woman who is 40 with no kids and no husband. So when she was going through, like, when she was talking about that and like thinking she's gonna kick it, and then it's like, nope, you're not gonna kick it because nobody is available for that. I've definitely identified with that.
But the
Mm.
thing that's so wild to me is her experience is not really reflective of, I guess, the experience that I've seen, and maybe it's because of the different like coasts. of her being in the UK versus here. But I think I have a lot more, and also I believe the character is white. Like in my head, I see a white woman, but you know, she doesn't have to be necessarily.
Mm-hmm.
But I feel like I don't see that same thing represented. I have a lot of friends who are married. I have a lot of friends who are 40 and single. I have a lot of friends, and mostly what I'm seeing is less people who are having children at 40. I was
Yeah.
just telling you guys that more of it is like I'm the only one in my friend group that has a kid, and I'm always trying to give her away. Like I'm like, does anybody want this baby? So so I'm like, this is, you know, and it's so interesting to see as the story develops how her relationships with her friends develop. And I'm skipping a little bit, but it was so important to me. Her birthday was heartbreaking to me. And so to give everybody who hasn't read it yet, it's a little bit of like, you know, sprinkle. On her birthday, the day of her birthday. Now the main character who you don't really find out what her name is, essentially has moved back from um, California to the UK because she and her fiance started a business, and that business failed, and when the business failed, their relationship also failed. And so she is like assumed, based on the way her life was going, that by now she would have her baby, she would have her wedding, she would have her full life, she would have her business. It was all going to be lit. And then she has to essentially start over. She decides to just pack up and go back to the UK, which, you know, I understand you, sis, London is a lit city. And when she gets there, she realizes rent's more expensive than it used to be 10 years ago. My parents have Airbnb and beat my bedroom. I was like,
That was
dang.
hilarious. I was,
And they were booked
they
and
were like,
busy, okay?
if you want to come, you don't have to give us warning because somebody might be in your bed. I'm like,
Right. Just so cold. And then they were like, what about your brother's room? We're like, well, your brother come home. So I was like, dang.
Right.
And then all of her friends, their extra bedroom is now a playroom or a bedroom for their kids. And so she really, really is starting over. And so day of her birthday comes. She's supposed to have plans with literally everybody in her life. And slowly but surely, every single person cancels on her. And I want to know, if y'all were in that situation, how would you have reacted?
hmm, I don't want to answer that. I will say
You
because
put
it's one of those things where you have to be an adult.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And you have to be understanding. You also have to understand that you are alone on your birthday, and that's a very
Right.
heartbreaking, reality,
Right.
right?
right,
Like it seems like she had nobody
Right.
at all.
right,
And I can't even, like I've had situations, not on my birthday, but I've had situations like that where people have to cancel because of family obligations, and it sucks,
hmm
so I know it had to, I don't know, just read. I feel like she handled it way better than I would.
Right.
Oh my God,
Right.
that's
Like I've been out
one
the
thing.
country, okay? Like you can't make a moment on my birthday. Like I was gone for like years. Like I'm home. Like hello, like prioritize.
Right.
So I mean, I'm just saying, like I feel like they were very nonchalant about it, like it's
hmm
like another day. And that could be the situation because they have family. But if you haven't seen me, like I would feel differently if I've been here for years and I'm always around. But if I've been out the country and it's my first birthday, back, I feel like, come on.
I
Make
wouldn't care if I had been out the country or been living next door to you every day.
right.
If you, if everybody canceled on my birthday, then everybody.
Everybody.
And the fact that nobody thought like, okay, well, maybe I can leave the baby with my husband. Like I didn't.
hmm
That was weird to me. Like the whole family, everybody
The
family had to
whole
come to the
family had to
birthday.
come.
I was like,
Because when they did do the makeup party, she walked into what she thought was a chic restaurant, and it was a kiddie restaurant,
Mm-hmm.
and all the kids was there, and she looking around like, okay,
Okay,
and
guys. Thank you.
okay, all right. I can just imagine how she felt.
it seemed like she was okay with it though, because she was happy to see her
After,
godchildren.
Right.
right, because afterwards it was like, well, at least I get to spend time with the babies, but like, my God, I don't have kids. I try to. I'm trying to put my mind into what she must have felt, like how I would have felt if I walked into a restaurant thinking I was, because she said she dressed up. She dressed up to
Mm-hmm.
play, to be on the floor rolling around with some children. I would have been hot. Like, why do
Yeah.
I got lashes on? What this?
Right.
So
Like I did extra. Right.
I tried today. So yes, it's very interesting to me that how that situation and the makeup. But the thing that I think is really telling about her character is that she is not being forthcoming with I think anybody about what's actually going on with her life. It
Right.
is like everything like and again, we don't learn her name until like very like a couple chapters into the book. And I
Right.
think truly the author in writing is trying to say like this character is trying very hard to cover up what she feels is a mistake in her life.
Mm-hmm.
And I wonder how you guys feel about that, about the fact that I think she has shame and where she's coming from,
Mm-hmm.
and how personally I just don't feel like she needs to be ashamed of herself. But I could
Right.
see how that. Nikki, in your face. What? Why do you feel like she
No,
needs to be ashamed?
no, I don't feel like she needs to be ashamed. I feel like it's inevitable that she would be because of how people treat people who are. I mean, as someone who is in a similar position as she is,
Mm-hmm.
if I moved out of the country and I had this fiance and everybody thought I was going to get married and I had to move back home at 40 plus because she's not just 40, she's 40.
Yeah.
She
Right.
talks about the difference between being 40 and 40 plus, which I very much identify with
I
because
do
I
too.
wasn't tripping about being 40, but as soon as 41 was looking at me, I was like, wait a minute, why is
Mm-hmm.
40 going by so quickly? Slow down, you know?
Honey, and I'm
So
about
Right.
33, so I'm like, mm,
yeah, that type of being in that kind of circumstance. I mean, people are judgy regardless. You
mm-hmm.
know,
Mm-hmm.
it really doesn't matter what age you are. People are judgy about almost everything. But I can see a 40 something woman being like, I don't want people to know that I don't have a job, my business failed, and my relationship failed. Like that's a lot of
Mm-hmm.
information to give people
Mm-hmm.
who are flourishing. All her
Right.
friends are
Right.
thriving right
But
now. So yeah,
right.
I,
And I
Yeah.
also I also think that I like how she kind of the author will present the situation that's fucked up, right? And how she's like really fighting, like doing her affirmations, doing her gratitude. Like
yeah,
it
Mm-hmm.
shows like, like she's trying to be a fully grown woman dealing with her circumstances. And I think that's what we're all trying to do, right? So there needs to be
Yeah.
grace because when we do the comparison game, we don't really know, the struggles
right,
that other people are having within their marriages with those children. They don't want them kids, perhaps, ever. Not
Mm-hmm.
once a day. They might not want them at all. So we don't really know what thriving is.
Right. Well,
and
the
I
So
have
reason
a
there's
feeling the story might turn into
yeah,
something like
mm-hmm.
that eventually, where she
yeah,
sees like
the
everybody got
grasping.
things that they're grappling with, you know.
We had a little bit of foreshadowing in the book to that event because there's a point where she's taking the big dog on a walk, which would have been. We didn't even get into her living situation. I'm gonna touch on that in a second. She's taking the big dog on a walk, and she looks in the window of a family, and she says to herself like she actually feels literally like the outsider looking in, but
mm,
then she hears that whisper in her head of, "Is this what you really want anyway?" Like the doubt that that's the life she had really wanted. So I do
right,
feel like there is definitely some foreshadowing about the grass ain't always greener
mm-hmm,
on the other side. I mean, even the way she has one friend that she talks about as how wealthy she is and how she's always trying to like suck up to another mom. And I'm like, oh no, that sounds like hell. Like it don't.
mm-hmm,
It sounds terrible.
yeah,
Like it
yeah,
might
Yeah,
look glamorous to you, but like she's trying to get acceptance from some woman, and like I said, all 40 plus. Like if you don't like me, who I am, why am I trying to bend over backwards to do extra? So, whew.
yeah, yeah.
um, So let's talk about her living situation because that was another time when I was like, there are moments when I was reading this and I put the book down and I said, I'm gonna pray for you, sis. Like I get it that this is fictional, but I'm just gonna lay hands on this book and see what we go
girl,
and see if we can get a better situation. So she moved, so she's looking for a place to stay, and one of her friends says, "Why don't you do a flat share?" Which essentially is having a roommate. And at 40 years old, I don't see any way I would have a roommate. And she feels the exact same way. So when I think one of the earlier interviews she goes on, it's a guy, he's married, but he's not wearing a ring. So she eyeballing him like, what's that mean? And then she realized she has to share a bathroom and she's about to walk right. And then he hands her a list of rules. And one of the rules is you have to stay cold. And I would have packed up my shit. I would have packed up my
It was
shit
like,
when
do
you
not
told me
touch
I
the
couldn't.
thermostat.
would have packed it quick, quick. So, like I said, I feel like there are certain moments in the book where it shows how really desperate she is, and that was one of those sections. Were you guys like shocked reading it? Like, how did you feel when you were reading about her living situation?
All I can say was thank you, Jesus, because I am all by myself in my apartment. And I ain't got to worry about nobody else's feelings and ideas or thoughts about how the temperature, the noise level, anything. Nobody got nothing to say about nothing up here. So I was just praising the Lord for my situation in that moment.
Mhm,
I understood, but it's crazy. Like I'm not about to pay rent and be cold. No, sir.
mhm.
No. It's
Yeah,
adjust.
and he told her not to take any baths because it takes too much water.
I truly was like, pack your shit, sis. Like, it can't get, like, there's got to be better than this. I said a hostel might be better than this at this point. Really, it was, I am that he wasn't going to be there. I forget, was it split
Yeah.
like 4 days he was there and 3 days he wasn't, or was it four he
It
wasn't
was like
there?
he leaves. She won't see him from Friday morning to Monday evening or something like that.
Okay.
I
And so
think.
she was like, well, I might could make that work.
No, I
So
get. I
Capricia's in the comments talking about the way this rent is set up. Sometimes you gotta do what you gotta do, and
yeah.
I feel that. Like there have been times where I'm
Yeah.
like looking in the bay. I'm like, how much more is it gonna be? You know, splitting it with somebody with work. But then at this age,
Mm,
hell no, I'm not. There's too much to deal with when it comes. Like when you're
yeah.
young, you're not tripping, and you hardly at home. Also,
Right.
I'm at the age where my home is my like I want to go to rest and be in my house. Okay, I'm
Right.
inside. Okay, we inside.
Right.
So
But
there's no way I'll be able to do that. There's
I
no way unless you just had to. Like I was definitely about to be homeless or something. That's the only way.
I think
Right.
I was just gonna add that being in that romance situation, when you think like having that time when the person is gone forever, like for those days, that's like heaven. So I can understand like it's like
Hmm.
a built-in being alone. So it's like I'll suffer these other few days, and while you're here, but ooh, I can't wait. For when you gone, it's like
Right.
I'm all by myself. So it's like a trade-off that I can understand because I remember being in that situation where it was like, okay, I know on Tuesdays and Thursdays and Fridays I don't even have to see you. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, so it feels like you have your own spot. So it's like she can't afford her own spot, but it gives her a kind of
Yeah.
it is her own spot, but I'm not, her own spot.
I also appreciate how she immediately line stepped because that would have been me too. I would have been waiting on Friday morning. I'd have been waiting at the stairs for him to close that door, and I would have sprinted to the heat. How you gonna freeze me in a place I pay rent?
Right.
Hell no. And not because you cheat, because you feel like we're saving the environment. The
Right.
environment don't care about these 4 or 5 degrees on
Right.
me. Leave me alone.
Right.
Right.
It's
So
performative. Yes.
there isn't a lot of discussion about her relationship, only that we know it ended and that on her birthday, her ex-fiance didn't call, and that's when she felt the lowest on that day. So in your head, what did you think about her relationship? Like what grand stories did you start to create about what happened? Because I immediately had all the backstory. Probably too many rom coms in my life, and I was like, "Oh, he did some shit." So what did y'all think?
I feel like he cheated.
Um,
Mm,
I know it seems too obvious,
yeah.
but I feel like, but I mean, it had to be something that was that terrible to where she would move out of the country, move back
right.
home.
It's so funny. I didn't even think about it. Like I didn't even. It was just interesting. I think I was more interested in her story. Like coming back home, I guess, and restarting. I was just like, okay, it didn't work, like or whatever. I don't know,
Hmm.
or maybe I was dozing off during that part, but I really didn't think about him.
I
I
just
thought
thought.
about it because she moved for him.
Mhm.
She moved from New York to California
Right.
for him, and I mean, doing some kind of major life transition for a man, and then y'all break up. And clear when she said that she was sad he didn't call her, it made me think the relationship did not end because she wanted it to end.
Uh-huh.
Right. But I
So
do think he, I didn't put that he cheated. I think in my head, I put that thing where you just start arguing and you're like, I don't even want this anyway. And it just is all unresolved and nasty. And it also has more plot device when it's not cheating, because cheating, I think, is finality, and everybody's like, oh
yeah,
no, F him. Like, it's good. Bah.
Oh,
But when it's like, unresolved, there's
right,
juiciness there. He could pop back up and we might be like, you know what, give
he
him a
better
second
not pop
chance.
back, girl.
right. Or it
She's
also
She
already
the
in
one
the
that left.
penitentiary.
right.
No,
But
no.
I also
Let's call
remember
it.
now, like when she was like looking at the messages to see if anybody called and that kind of thing. But it could be a situation. Well, I guess the feeling I got was that it wasn't a situation that could be fixed. Like it was just what had to happen. Like she had to leave. So I didn't think of it about like one person or the other person. But sometimes even when you're the person that has to do the cutting it off, you still gonna have that
Yeah,
lingering. Like I
Mhm.
want to see you want me still kind of situation.
Yeah.
Hmm.
I
yeah.
think there's some unresolved feelings there, but I'm interested to see the development, because the good thing about the part of the book that we read, it essentially set up that her life is so bad that any positive thing that could happen to her, we are going to cheer for her. We're going to rejoice in her
Right,
through the
right.
rest of the book. She get laid, we're gonna be like, "That's right, sis. Get you some." Like,
Girl. Like, I was rooting for you. I was rooting for
cause
you.
man, oh man. um Do you guys have any other thoughts about the first couple chapters, about what you read? Anything interesting that stuck out to you that I didn't touch on already?
I'm very excited to see what else happens. Like this, I think it starts off really good, and it is
Mhm.
funny. It's a funny
Oh
book
yeah.
already. So I think this is like, I mean, I feel like all of our books are good, but I feel like this one, this beginning has really grabbed me. So I'm like, okay, let
Mhm.
me see what else is going to happen. I'm excited to see about this meet. So she, I don't know if I should explain it, but she finally gets a job writing obituaries. She has to interview this older woman who just lost her husband. I forgot what he was, but he was important. And it seems like the meeting with with the widow is going to really help her blossom. So I'm excited to see how that relationship affects her. And then also
Mhm.
she's starting a podcast or something.
Right.
Which
Yeah.
that was my first question. I skipped right over it. Would you listen to a podcast about someone talking about how they feel like they're failing in their 40s?
Absolutely.
I actually had that idea like last year. Not failing, but like a 40 something who is regular or who
Would
is
you?
not, because it seems like every like social media and everything is always about like the person who has it all, black
Mhm.
excellence, best at everything, and you are, living life and excelling everywhere in family, finances, career, everything.
Right.
And so I was thinking like it would probably be cool to do one where it's like this is just a regular person living a regular life and
Mhm.
dealing with failures and
Right.
dealing with success. And I think that would be very interesting. I think somebody said there
Yeah.
are podcasts out there about that already.
No, that there's too many girl boss podcasts.
Oh,
He
okay.
said that,
Right.
and
Right.
then
You know what?
and Capricia said,
I
yeah.
was just gonna say that, like, and I think the whole idea of, I think that's the kind of the point. Like, it's
Mhm.
not how are we measuring success, right? Like, what
Right.
is considered being a failure? Like, what if this is what this looks like? You know what I'm saying? At this
Right.
moment in time, we're in 2020 versus 1990 versus 1960 versus,
Right.
a 40-year-old looks is going to show up differently, right? And so what do we consider failure? It's kind of like I don't know who participates in therapy, but I'm a person that participates in therapy. And, sometimes you'll go to therapy and you start talking about what's going on in your life and you're feeling all bad. But when you start talking about what's going on in your life, you're like, wait a minute, hold on, sis. You doing pretty good, And it's kind
Right.
of because of what society says you should
Mhm.
you should be doing. So it's like we're battling against what our inner spirit has called us to do or what our own destiny is versus what society has told us we should be or do or see show up
Right.
as, right? And so are we looking at 40-year-old men who have are not in successful relationships or who do not have children and just saying that they're failure? What are we saying about them? We're so, is it the same standard?
Hmm.
And that's, we know that's not a fact, and it's like it's
Hmm.
like a diss. I don't even know the right words. I'm feeling extra 40, but it's like I'm trying to, if you 40 and you don't have X, Y, and Z, or you're just discarded. But my mom had her best friend never had children. She she's living her best life still within her home that she owns. She's able to do whatever she want to do. We don't know what our life, is supposed to pan out as. And I think part of the the blessing is that we are in a space where we can take those notions of success and failure and flip it, for ourselves
Yeah.
and for our loved ones. You know what I mean?
I
Hmm.
agree. I think that the evolution of what 40 looks like in 2022 is not the same evolution when the lifespan was different. Like we
Yeah.
live in a long lives. And as a
Yeah.
result, like everything is delayed. Like I had my daughter after 35.
Hmm.
And when I turned 35 during my pregnancy, they switched me to be a geriatric pregnant person. Now,
Right.
it tickled me because I'm like, how dare you? Like, you know what I'm saying? The audacity of your book, of whatever you wrote down to call me a geriatric pregnant person.
Hmm.
But then when you look at the data that they had, it was a really small population of like not black women,
Yeah.
and it was like from the 1920s when you weren't living to be more than like 67 years old anyway. That's just not the reality for people anymore. And so like a
Right.
lot of things about the way women age has been used essentially as a weapon against us to allow, let me not get into my patriarchy spiel
No,
right
it's
now,
No,
but
you
speak on
preaching, girl.
speak
but
on
that's
it.
what I'm saying. It really feels like everything was set up to make women feel bad, so we stayed in a subservient role and we never wanted more. But now that we are able to get more, we're not settling for foolishness. We're not settling for people who won't treat us well. I'd rather be single and 40 than married to a terrible man who makes
Look.
me feel like crap every day. Like, so that is it, right? And I don't even believe in, even though I know that society has a different standard, I'm shaming every man over 40 and calling his ass a failure and discarded too. How dare you? Your discarded ass
Gonna
out
die
here.
alone.
Thank you. Just, if you don't got hoochie daddy shorts on, I don't even know what you doing out here anymore. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
Ooh.
You better be eye candy, sir, because what other use with your old ass is there? Okay?
What are you bringing
I'm
to the
just saying.
table?
What are you bringing to the table? I have a table. Do you have a table? You better be bringing something to this goddamn table.
Right.
Ooh. Okay.
So yeah. So
I ain't taking all of that, but yeah.
But it's a fact for
right.
all genders. How about that?
Thank you. So
Yeah.
one thing we haven't touched on yet is that this book has been this is becoming a television series, and the main character on the television series ain't my favorite. It ain't anybody real favorite, you know. And they also changed the setting from the UK to the US. And one thing I've always found with, I like British humor a lot. Like I think books written with British humor are quite good.
Mhm.
But whenever they transition them, sometimes it falls flat because the humor is different. So what do you guys think the TV show is going to be like? And Gina Rodriguez is the main character, so I'm sure she's going to talk about being an Afro Latina and drop the N word when she rapping the Fugees. So
I'm I was excited to watch it until I saw Gina was gonna be the star.
Yeah.
That kind of deflated my balloon. But if the book is good, I might check it out. I mean, I feel like it's gonna be a good light television show. I'm thinking The Office,
Hmm.
Schitt's Creek,
mm,
possibly type of humor, and I love that. So I'm gonna give it a chance, maybe.
okay,
I don't like her though, so it's making it hard.
yeah, she
And
gonna have
then also, I feel you about the humor changing with them moving it to the U.S., but I feel like it'll be. I don't know.
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, I don't really. I like television, so I would give it a chance. I would think that it would kind of transition to an Americanized version of it, like other
Mm,
shows that have been, poached from the. What were we talking about? From
UK.
UK. Thank you. I was trying to say BC. I didn't know what letters, but forgive me. Um, so I think it'll be fine. I'm interested to see a transition because we need more content that has our demographic.
Hmm.
Over 40, still living our lives. There was a movie that came out that was really pretty good. I can't think of it right now, but it was
Is it failure to launch?
no, it has something to do with 40. Like 40 was in the top in the title, and
Oh,
she was over 40 and she was teaching and being a poet. It's excellent.
I know what you're talking about.
Yeah,
She was a
yeah.
rapper.
Yes,
She could
yes,
be a rapper. That movie
yes,
was so good. Oh my God.
yes.
That what was it called? And it
I
was a black one.
yes. One of my friends from college was like, "Hey, I watched this movie and it reminded me of you." And I was like, "I don't know if that's a compliment." Uh, I was like,
That's how it would have come to us. So let me watch this movie before I
"Let me
respond
watch
to
about
you.
this 40-year-old lady, teaching the
Is
kids in
it
the
called
career."
40-year-old virgin?
Yeah,
Virgin.
40-year-old version, like VERSIA. I think that's what it's called. But that's an excellent one. But we just need more content because we're not invisible. We out here
Yeah.
living life. Um, to the best. You know, and we
I
want
just
to.
want to say about the 40-year-old virgin. That movie was like it's on Netflix,
Yeah,
and oh girl got her a little cutie.
yes, she
That was
did.
in his early 30s. Was he
Yeah,
pretty young? He was a little rapper.
uh huh.
And I
Well, let
was
me
like,
ask y'all that question. I remember when I was younger, I could never date a dude who was younger than me. Are y'all still on that wave, or have you gotten to the point where you're like, as long as he got good vibes?
um,
Did
it's
this
hard
become too
because
personal?
no, it's
I,
hard
I,
because I've only dated older men.
Mhm.
Or my age, like younger, just the idea, like it would never be anything serious. When we think about what would we talk about? Not saying that younger men don't have anything to say, but the majority of them don't have anything to say to it. So, so it would likely be not
And
serious,
look, here's
just
me.
for fun.
Why don't y'all try? Just see if she like you. Just holler, and you could be, in your mid 30s. Maybe you got a chance. You know what I'm saying? Don't let what Nakia's saying right now stop you from shooting that shot. She
I
about
don't
to
want
say
nobody to
stop
get
it
their
right
feelings
now.
hurt. So I'll be like, what?
What about you, Linda?
I'm not interested in any young man. I mean, I'm not interested. I don't know. I don't know if I'm interested in anything at this point. I'm just trying to get my life together. You know how the folks have. I'm at that point. You got to get yourself together, and so that's where I am, so that I can be ready for the right person, whomever that may be.
I like
Yeah,
that. I like that.
yeah.
Um, Nakia, are we almost at time? I think we are.
You probably are. We
Yeah.
always go over time, so
We always do. Well, I will say that this has been a fantastic conversation, ladies. I
yeah.
died laughing. But that is exactly emblematic of what this book will be for the club, because I think it'll spark really, really good conversations, not just about the book material, but about our lives, who we are as women, how we're
Mhm.
represented as women, and how the narrative around being 40 is changing to the benefit of women now that we don't have to be. Now that our greatest value isn't looked at specifically for what we look like, who we're with, and what we can offer a man. Now we are the prize, as we always have been, and it's being more reflected. And you should hopefully see that reflected in this novel. So I
Yes,
have
that was
more
a
to
great
say.
ending. Okay,
All
EJ.
right, come on, come on, come on. We
Look at
can
me at
go
almost 10
tomorrow.
o'clock. I've been taking ginkgo. Like my brain is firing right now.
Okay, okay,
I feel like these vitamins is biting.
Well,
okay.
thank you To everyone who joined us this evening, again, we talked about Confessions of a 40 something fuck up. I hope that you grab the book and enjoy it with us. And then our next book for August will be You Made a Fool of Death with Your Beauty by, I cannot pronounce her name and I don't want to mess it up, or their name. I don't want to.
Akweke, Emezi.
Thank you. So,
A quick note about that book. I heard somebody reading one of the they were like, it was a TikTok, and she was on the train and she was like, she had the book because it's a beautiful cover, so you can just notice it when someone has it. And she's like, what you look like in the train reading like the dirtiest book ever. And so she's reading an excerpt, and I was like, oh, I can't wait
oh,
to get
so
to
it's
that
freaky.
chapter. It's super freaky. I was like, ooh.
Really? You would never know that from looking at this.
No,
Okay.
And even when we were talking about the synopsis for the book, I mean, what she read was an explicit chapter, and I was like, oh, okay. So I'm sure we'll have some things to talk about next month. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, okay. So we're going to have our first impression for this in August. I believe it's August 8th or 6th, but I could be grabbing that date out of thin air, but we will definitely promote it on Instagram so you can join us for our discussion of the beginning of this. And thank you, Linda, for joining me and EJ. And I hope you guys enjoy the rest of your Thursday.
Thank you
Bye.
for having me.
It was lovely. Bye, ladies.
Bye.
How you get